Hi there! Space entities from other worlds were discovered. They sent signals at intervals so timed their accuracy far exceeded man-made instruments, with scientists concluding that they were especially advanced. What have follow-up investigations found? Our friends are now known as pulsars, a type of star several times their sun's mass compressed into the size of beach balls. By speedily rotating, they beam out radio waves, creating a pulsating effect. Scientists not only misunderstood who they were dealing with, they tried to communicate with non-living matter. Since adults with specialized education made such a huge mistake, how frequently do most people misunderstand people? Constantly! Most miscommunication is based on mental laziness and uncaring. For example, many assume that swastikas are hate symbols, though this oldest and most important historical symbol is explained by the swastika entry and the positive Christianity entry, both on Wikipedia. Besides, almost everything on television, in movies, the radio, and in the lyrics to songs is a pack of lies. Today, even schools and churches spew lies and provide gross misinformation. Even scientists cannot be trusted to promote science, as Bill Nye, the so-called science guy, went psychotic by promoting the idea of humans having 75 different genders. I'm also amazed that people today act like they can know a lot about someone just from only one or two paragraphs on the internet, while having never seen the person, let alone being able to hear their voice. Trying to deduce something from this piecemeal communication is often worse than no communication, as having only a car's axle rod and two tires and pushing it is worse than simply having to walk. Though most people seem to understand that trying to analyze someone from only a few words is preposterous, almost everyone claims that some people know hidden things about others just by being with and talking to them for 15 minutes. This is often called intuition. Intuition can be defined as a form of knowledge akin to instinct that gives quick insight into reality. However, I declare intuition to be a hoax, and that the vast majority of society suffers from mass delusion. I'm compelled to address this issue because so-called intuition is an unrighteous form of judging that people use to condemn others for no reason. Some cases of false assumptions show how foolish trying to read people really is. For example, when I was 35, people thought I was 18. When I was 40, people thought I was 23. Some people on the internet are convinced that I live in a country I don't live in, including one I never visited and have no ancestry in. Since I had the habit of looking down and avoiding people's gaze, others gave me dirty looks as if I was examining someone's crotch. Even in our computer age, many rely on horoscopes to determine facts about others, which is definitely ignorance, since the validity of horoscopes has been clearly disproven. See my video on horoscopes and astrology. And it is virtually impossible to determine anyone's marital status, political affiliation, religion, worldview, family history, sexual preference, mental state, favorite activity, personality type, level of morality, or a dozen other characteristics without that person making a direct statement about themselves dealing with those topics. Moreover, trying to read people causes others to assume the worst about those who have good intentions. It also causes people to assume the best about those with bad intentions. This is a principle upon which internet scammers work. Therefore, I have constructed a test to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that intuition, instinctive knowledge, or whatever you call it, is completely fictitious and non-existent in any living person. This test consists of 50 questions about the most significant facts about someone with an average 5 possible multiple choice answers. The median number of questions right by simply checking boxes at random would be 20% correct. And by simply observing someone and using common sense, it would virtually be impossible to mistake someone under 18 for someone over 70 and vice versa. That adds a bit without having anything to do with intuition. So if 100 people took the test based on a stranger or strangers and the average number of correct conclusions was 24% or less, that would completely disprove intuition theory. Averaging 26 to 30% correct would be significant but inconclusive. Averaging 34% or better for tests based on strangers, 56% correct for people who casually knew the person whom the test was based on, and 80% correct for people close to whom the test was based on would be remarkable. I would then expand the test base to weed out any unusual happenstances. Continued high results would be required to prove intuition theory, but even getting that far escapes this. Having already done some testing, I saw that the answers gotten right are those which the other person made direct statements about. For those that weren't, giant mistakes abound. Again, you're already getting 20% for nothing by virtue of random chance, a couple percent right for common sense, and several answers right because your friend made direct statements about themselves. By adding special intuition, there shouldn't be any colossal mistakes. Instead, gross mistakes abound. Since my own parents couldn't even get every conclusion right about me, where does that leave everyone else? And as I stated in a previous video, psychologists are often worse than the average person in evaluating people, since there are over 20 logical fallacies associated with psychology. Psychology is another hoax. See my videos on the psych theories. Furthermore, I was involved in an icebreaker game where we all told two things that are true about ourselves and one thing that's false. Everyone then said which one they deemed false for everyone else. Even with no so-called intuition, people should get 33.3% right by virtue of random chance. However, after all was revealed, we saw that everybody got 0% right. Try this with any group of people. See how well you do. People think they're much smarter than they actually are. People are especially wrong about women's perceptions, considering the ubiquitous crazy idea of so-called women's intuition. Actually, women are generally worse than men when it comes to properly evaluating others. We know this since women are attracted to sociopaths, evil men with no conscience, while they are repulsed by men with Asperger's syndrome, a neutral condition. Women's judgments are especially clouded by their being overly emotional. I highly recommend reading Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass and what Alice found there. Throughout the stories, Alice encounters various creatures that berate Alice for being bad, illogical, and stupid, while that describes them instead. Alice, however, is kind, logical, and wise. I'm a male version of Alice who is trapped in the twilight zone of insanity. But society has the ability to change that. Now, if God judged people the way people judge those with personalities they don't understand, I'm guessing that he'd have to damn everyone on the planet to hell. So stop your assumptions. For a more thorough discussion on this topic, read Chapter 25, Communication Fails, on my website.